So, what is this segment about? The segment is about depression, how it relates with and relates to purpose. We will get into deeper depth, but whatever it is we say, even if it sounds like we're going further afield, out into further reaches, just have depression and purpose at the back of your mind. I'm introducing somewhat of a new concept. Gone are the days when we couldn't pick up depression through signs and symptoms, through physical signs and symptoms. It used to be a thing of the mind, and it used to be masked and masked so well because it had been so badly stigmatized, nobody would talk about it. But we can't cheat nature. Nature is going to find a way to express itself. Pain is going to find a way to make itself not just heard, but felt. The medical professionals will tell you that all disease, and I mean all without exception, and I say this beyond a shadow of a doubt, without fear of contradiction. I don't have to take on anyone any time of day to prove this to them, but if you are that person who's still a skeptic, who's wondering, who's questioning, name your place, name your day, and we'll have the conversation and we can both become enlightened. Because I'll learn something from you, but you'll definitely learn a whole lot from me as well. That's why we're here. Not to fight each other, not to debate each other, but to exchange energies and to build synergy. So depression mental health has found ways of making itself heard. Like I was saying, all disease comes from a lack of ease. Dis-ease. When you bring the dis and the ease together, you have got disease. So the body is under stress, duress, and distress. You know what they always say. Your body, or a chain, is as strong and is as its weakest link. So when there's this misalignment in the body, the medical profession will talk about head coherence and heart coherence. When those two are in sync, you're in a state of health. Not because you don't have challenges, rather because you don't become your challenges. Challenges are like waves. We either ride them or they ride us. When you ride your challenges, you thrive. When you arrive, your challenges ride you, or when they ride me, we are in survival mode. And thriving is the last thing we will do, even if we're making it and everyone else around us is hailing us, envying us, wishing they could be us. They don't realize that the pain we carry, if we were to give them, they would literally pass out. So yes, like I was saying, today mental health signs and symptoms have gone beyond the ephemeral, beyond the realm of the mind where you could hide unnoticed. When you see someone being excessively irate before you, when you see someone crying about pain, which the medical instruments known to man can't identify, can't connect with, when their blood work doesn't show any sign and any trace of disease, and yet they are ill, it's a mental health condition. The whole system is discombobulated. There is confusion. That misalignment expresses and articulates itself as the pain of trauma that we ultimately get to experience. That weakest part of the body is the one that will eventually come under the pressure or succumb to the pressure as disease, which is why you would expose two people to the exact same environment, set of conditions. One of them will take ill, the other one will not. Why is that? We are wired to be able to deal with anything that we throw at ourselves, but when we are under stress and duress, the body starts losing its ability. It starts losing that capability to protect itself, and so it gives in. And so we need these extra outside interferences, which we administer to the body, or interventions, which we then pump into the body to do what the body typically, naturally can do of its own accord. Sorry. So that is the concept today, which then touches on compassion. If you see someone behaving in a certain way, erratic way before you, just know that it could be a cry for help. And while you don't have to make things Any better? You can choose to not make things worse. And yes, I know it takes the bigger person to do that. Question is, will you be that bigger person? Let's get into it. At this segment, because I missed the actual connection between mental health, what used to be symptoms that could not be identified because they were living in the realm of the mind, and you can't really go into and read someone's mind, although it is possible. These days, we just don't have the tools to interpret what it is that we're reading. Electroencephalogram, electrocardiograms, they all give us readings, and we can tell broad base what's going on, but we can't necessarily pin it down to the key core. So when you take your antidepressants, for instance, you're dealing with a symptom. You're trying to use chemicals to balance a problem which is not a chemical problem. The chemical imbalance is a symptom of a deeper underlying thought process that is broken. So if you come and you do a quick fix here, it's a bit like you go to a tree and you go to its leaves, and some of them are turning yellow, others are turning brown, and you paint them all green. Amazing. They will look amazing on the outside, but you've not dealt with the problem. It's a cosmetic fix. It's only a matter of time before that putrid wound, that leaf literally falls off, drops down, drops out, or is kicked out and dies. It withers and dies, whereas it's looking great on the outside. It's no different. These cosmetic interventions only take us so far. They start kicking that can along the road until it gets to a certain point where it can't sustain itself anymore, and then that person is sectioned again if they fall into the wrong hands, because the next thing is we dial in drugs, the chemical substance, to deal with what is anything but a chemical problem. You can use chemistry to solve emotional challenges, and that is the mistake we make all day long, every day. Something that a conversation with someone who knows what it is that they're talking about and who understands the dynamics of healing would bring to the fore, without lifting a finger, without even talking about that problem. Because it's all about creating an environment that is so conducive that person connects with themselves, reframes their life's experiences with your help, of course, as you highlight blind spots, and ultimately they get to a place in a headspace where they figure out who they are and how they then come from that place, to come along, to come forth, and then to blossom, spread their wings, and to fly. And I want to see you fly, so let's get into it. I'm looking for the stop button. I can't find it. I have to be able to find my cursor first. I just did. So, today's Monday, and later on, during the course of this day, at 8 p.m. to be more precise, we go live. I have no clue what we're going to be talking about. So if you're the first online, you will decide and determine what the topic of conversation will be. So come prepared. Drop all your inhibitions. Just show up. Don't show up as a mother, as a brother, as a sister. Don't show up as a friend. Don't show up as a medical doctor, a GP. Don't show up as an astronaut. Those are all caps. Those are all teachers. They're all designed to bring out from within us what we carry on the inside. Our gifts, our abilities, our capabilities, and our talents. The things that we use to make a difference, serving a purpose that is bigger than the self. That is the birthplace of fulfillment. The joy that typically grows from the inside out, different from happiness, the bout of euphoria that has its rise or takes its rise from outside of us, through the things that we do and the experiences that we have, and then they trickle and make us feel something on the inside, a certain form of contentment. But it is not joy, because joy doesn't need a trigger. So, let us start as we usually typically would, with a bar of music. This is a deeply spiritual conversation, and so it'd be good to play spiritual music. This is a rendition of the Our Father. Some of you might know it, some of you might not. It doesn't matter. The melody will speak to you, that I can promise you. Let's do this. It's like I said, I don't say anything that I don't mean. I said it was going to speak to your heart. It was going to touch your soul, and that I know it did. This morning we're touching on mental health. See, gone are those days when mental health did not leave a trace. It has changed the way it manifests today. Why? Because for so long we have ignored the signals. Mental health is not what we think it is. It is very strictly and very tightly coupled with our purpose. I'll say that again. Mental health is not what we've always thought or made it out to be. Its root cause is tied deeply and very securely coupled with our purpose. What do I mean? We all journey on a daily basis, and if we leave where we are and we're going someplace and it turns out to be nowhere, then we end up absolutely nowhere. If it's a joyride, then that works just fine. But if we meant to go someplace, then it is of paramount importance that we know what our source is, where we're living from, and what our destination is, where we are going. Knowing the destination is more important than the journey, because the destination and the fixation of where we're going is what determines how we prepare for the journey, what we take along with us. It is what informs us of what we will need, from which we can then piggyback backwards to decide what it is that we have, and then ultimately look at what the shortfall is between what we've got, where we're going, what we need, and what we need to work on. We need to procure the shortfall, the delta. Proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. I'll say that again. Proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. The 6 P's. And preparation is no different from a satellite navigation system or a global positioning system. It allows you to know the territory to have an understanding of the territory. It gives you a template, it gives you a roadmap. But it is equally of paramount importance that we do not confuse the map for the territory, that we do not confuse the journey with the destination, because ultimately, by and large, we never arrive. The journey is the destination. Mental health has been long misunderstood. It is confused with its symptoms. That's not what it is. The symptom is just a knock on the door. For a while now, we struggled with it because it has no taste, it has no smell, it has no sound, or well, sometimes it has confused and mixed sounds. Because someone could be very irate in front of you and you would think they were just having a bad day, whereas they were deep in a mental crisis. Mental health crisis, of course. We get to pick this apart, we get to deconstruct and to reveal it for what it actually is. We talked about the journey, remember? If you leave and you are going out on a journey and you start moving away from your destination, it hurts. But why would it hurt? You prepare for your journey based on what the destination is. If you're going to a hot country, your preparation is commensurate with the needs of a hot country. If you're going to the Alps, then you will not just dress appropriately, but you will take with you a different set of tools, especially if you're someone who is into skiing. Now, if you're going to the desert, you are certainly not going to take your skis, or will you need them with you. They become baggage, the baggage that we carry. And ultimately downstream, these become the things that hold us hostage and hold us in bondage. The weight that we carry. Scripture says, pick up your cross and follow me. Now, it's important you get to understand that that cross is not your purpose. Because your purpose is not a cross. What I'm doing here right now, that's my purpose. It brings out from within me all kinds of joy. Brings out from within me fulfillment. Peace that surpasses all understanding. Peace not as the world can give. That peace that comes from the inside. The peace that you get when you plug in and you connect with Source. The peace that allows me to come to the mic and to do free speak, like free fall, not knowing what it is I'm going to say next and why I will say it, because I have honed and I am honing in on that ability, that unique ability to get out of the way and let nature manifest, let truth find expression through me, from me to you. Inspired truth, not your version of it, not my version of it. There are lots of things I'll say to you today that I'll have to go back after this video intervention and make notes. So we're talking about mental health and purpose. When you deviate and you divert from your purpose, it's like you're stretching a rubber band, and that rubber band has got an elastic limit. When you stretch it beyond a certain point, it starts pulling you back. It's pulling you back to Source. And when the more you stretch it, you know you're moving astray, because you will feel a certain bout of discomfort. That discomfort is telling you that you're doing something wrong. It is telling you that you're going in a direction you should rather avoid. It's asking you to change course. It's an invitation to be plugged in to Source and to be plugged out of the matrix. We experience it in its deepest concentration and in its deepest form when we're going through a life-changing experience. Those areas in our lives where we have built and created lots of dependencies. When we lose a loved one, a spouse, a child, a very good friend. a neighbor that we got along with royally, a colleague that we were very fond of, or at least one that made such a big difference in the organization. They became a pillar post. They became the symbol, the epitome, the manifestation of return on investment. And so we love them not for who they are, but we love them for what they bring and how much and to what extent we depend on those things that they bring or brought. So we call it grief. And grief is that one area where pain gets concentrated. Grief will concentrate all the pain we have carried in us over a prorated period. It concentrates that pain, the pain of loss, the pain of fear, the pain of sloth, the pain of confusion, the pain of bitterness and resentment. It concentrates all of this, brings it to the fore, brings it to the fold. And we are grieving for so many different reasons. But at that particular point in time, all that pain having been brought to the surface leaves us wondering how to deal with it, how to cope with it. And so we turn around and we look for the next thing that is happening to us or happening around us that could be potentially a good victim to pin that pain on. And so we look at the person that we just lost and we say, that's the reason I'm feeling the way I'm feeling right now. Whereas it's just an outlet for every bout of disappointment we have ever felt, every expectation that was unmet, every need that was unfulfilled. They all start looking for a channel. Those things we suppressed in the yesterdays and the yesteryears, they start sipping out through that handle. We call it grief, of course. It's just a calling to a higher order of living. I'll say that again. All forms of pain are callings to a higher order of living. We capture and encapsulate them. We give them different names based on what we're going through at a particular point in time. If we're in the army, we would typically call it PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. I call it post-traumatic stress disposition. It is when we decide we will do nothing about it, when we decide not to heed to that call because we've gone against our values. I take, for instance, I'll give you a hypothetical example. My Christian value says I shouldn't kill. It means I have no business in the army. Because I'm not going to kill anyone unless it was in self-defense. If you ask me, and I no disrespect to you politicians, but if you were to ask me to go fight for my country, I would need to know what exactly it is that I am fighting for. I'll need to know exactly why we are invading that other country. And no, I'm agnostic, I'm not political, so I really would not be moved one way or the other what the politicians do. That's not my job, it's not my role, it's not my responsibility. So I will trust that they will do whatever it is that works for them, that it will play out, and they will follow, of course, their consciences, and their decisions would be value driven, not interest motivated. I trust that, and then I'll drop on my knees and I'll pray for God to show them the way, to motivate them, to enable them, to empower them, to deploy the right resources to the pain that they seek and look to alleviate, and that they should not be doing that just to line their pockets. And even if they were lining their pockets, if they would at least ensure that after lining their pockets, those pockets were big enough so they would find in and through those pockets measures to then serve the communities that they represent. So we go back to PTSD, post-traumatic stress disposition, and we will find PTSD in all areas. We just call it different names. When you fall and you crack a bone. That's trauma. Some people get, what's the expression I'm looking for? Some people get scarred for life from such an event. They become extra cautious and very careful about everything that they're doing. When you're cautious and careful, your motivation is fear, so you become fearful. And when you focus on the things that you do not want, it's like dialing into that same frequency you do not want to operate in. If you dial fear, you will have fearful experiences because everything becomes a threat and everything becomes a challenge. What's the polar opposite? You want to be intentional and deliberate. That forces you to think about the things that you actually want, not the things that you seek to avoid and or to prevent. You look at the things you want to make provision for, and that becomes your focus. Not to say you will never look at the things you don't want. No, they become the rear view mirror. So they are and they live in the realm of your awareness, not the realm of your focus. It's an important distinction to be made. It's of paramount importance that we discern the two, the difference between the two, and that we understand what each one beholds. So, of course, when you lose someone, there's trauma involved, and the Kubler-Ross cycle talks about it beautifully. That trauma we deal with, or we call grief, again, according to a higher order of living. Childbirth is yet another one. A lot of mothers go through some kind of postnatal depression. Again, I call it postnatal disposition. If only they could and would understand what it is that was going on in their bodies. Before giving birth, you have this illusion of what it should be or what it shouldn't be, and then the reality feels so different. Coupled to that, you've got your body that is trying to adapt to everything. The roller coaster just went through. Hormones are all over the place, and so lots of different programs are running, and some of these programs will run other programs that you do not normally or typically run, programs that had been frozen in the deepest recesses of your mind. There's an awakening in that area, the things you never really wanted to deal with in the yesteryears, way back then in time. They all wake up and they're calling your attention all at the same time. Talk about confusion. You get to meet and greet confusion and its relatives in real time. And that's a lot to process. If you don't have the right people around you who can help break these things down, deconstruct them, peel them apart, so you realize it's just your mind playing games and playing tricks on you. Your mind is the operating system on which all the experiences that you have pitch their game. And your focus will determine the outcome of that experience. It'll be good, bad, and ugly based on how you engage with it, how you relate with it. It's going to be a problem, a challenge, one opportunity based on how you are wired, what tool you are. You will then choose either avoidance or prevention or engagement. The choice will always be yours, because ultimately we are architects of our destiny, and the world is full of raw materials which we can use to build our castles with. Sometimes we build our castles on a foundation of sand. Sometimes the walls of our castles are put on solid ground, but then the house is one built with cards. A house of cards will not even resist the wind. It is important that we come to a place and a headspace where we realize that life is about knowing what raw materials become the building blocks of the house you're about to put together, the house you're about to construct. And why is this of paramount importance? Because those raw materials, as they come to you, will either be congruent with or in opposition to your purpose and what your purpose needs. It means ultimately you should never do something out of excitement. You should do it because it fulfills a need, not a want. Wants are the things that bring us instant gratification. They are appealing to the flesh. They have no moral compass. They don't care what it is I'm doing to you in order to get what it is I desire at any given point in time. Their focus is appealing to the ego. And this usually, typically happens at the expense of the people around you, and not just anybody, your loved ones. A moment of silence for that to sink in. So notice everything that we've talked about brings us back to one thing: purpose. And we can't talk about purpose if you don't know who you are. So ultimately it starts with getting to understand who you are. What are your gifts? What are your abilities? What are your capabilities? What are your talents? And how are you using them? Are they working for you? Or are you recruiting them and enabling them to work against you? These are questions we all, without exception, need to answer. We will be looking at some of these questions later on today. This segment has gone on longer than I planned for it to go. I thought it was just going to be a few nuggets, a few teasers, brain teasers, to get you all excited and to get you to put your thinking caps on. So you could go to those deep recesses, those places, nooks and crannies, those corners in your soul, those rooms that you had shut and forgotten and thrown the key. It's time for us to go through those doors and to bring out whatever is there. I conclude, of course, by going back to what it is that inspired this talk in the first place. Mental health is very tightly coupled to and very tightly coupled with our purpose. So your state of mental health, or your mental health state, is a dashboard that reports on how closely aligned you are with your purpose, or how far away you have moved from it. And that in and of itself tells you how closely related you are to, and how and to what extent you are connected with Source. Source in this case being God Almighty, and God Almighty being whatever it is you conceive is responsible for the universe we live in, or the multiverses we are a part of, the solar systems, that entire workup. Whatever you believe is responsible for it. Now, if it's the Big Bang, and that's the furthest you can think what lies behind the Big Bang. That ultimate source is what I refer to as God. You can give it any name you choose. We're not going to get into that debate. It's a subject matter for a different discussion, a different day. Give it the name you choose. The important thing is that you understand the forces at play, and that you understand that if that particular force is responsible for the order that we see, nature as we know it, life as we experience it, living as we have come, to engage with it. You will notice if you are out of alignment with the order of things as stipulated by this nature, the force of nature, vitality, then you suffer. It's like going against gravity. Jump off a cliff and defy gravity, and you will come to realize that this force does not negotiate. Not with you, not with me. Unless we transcend it, of course. And the only way we can transcend it is by being really plugged with it, working with it, not against it. If you have ever tried to swim, or if you have ever gotten on a surfboard, then you will know what exactly it is I'm talking about. The ocean currents, the currents at sea, they are wild. Now, there are people who can ride them, but for those who are not equipped, who don't have the skills, the abilities, the gifts, and the capabilities to ride those waves, they get ridden by those waves, and so they drown. And if you can swim, then you will know that once upon a time, before you could, each time you jumped into that pool of water, all you did, in spite of your very best efforts, was to sink. You would just sink to the bottom until someone came to your rescue. Then you got to learn the tricks. You got to learn the dynamics. You got to learn the force you were dealing with. It looks very docile. It almost looks complacent. It looks calm. It looks collected. It looks composed. Yet it carries the power of life and death with it. And when you get to understand the dynamics of its power and the rules of engagement, the terms of engagement, when you jump into or dive into the pool, then you eventually align yourself with it. You and it become one. It, the water around you, becomes an extension of who you are. And when that unity consciousness happens, you swim seamlessly, and the water actually helps your glide, whereas it used to get in the way of your glide. I have this running joke that I tell my friends when it comes to swimming. I tell them I'm an amazing swimmer, Olympic grade level. The only problem is when I swim, water gets in the way. And so my talent really doesn't come out as it should. But if they were to take the water out of the pool, they would see me. They should watch me cut through that pool like a bullet. Just take the water out. And that makes I become a perfect swimmer. Bring the water in. We begin to struggle a little bit. So yes, not believing in God is not much different. You go against that force. Ultimately, you will hurt yourself. It's like going against a current. Going against the very thing that is responsible for your being here. You don't stand a chance, but you don't have to believe me. Again, it's like a live wire. Breathing with electricity. 6,000 volts. Go touch that live wire. And if you were not a believer in electricity, you would become one of its worshippers. I'm not advocating that you go that far. But at least you will start to believe in something you didn't believe in because you get electrocuted. Well, if you survive the experience, then you will just get kicked. But it's going to be an experience you won't be in a hurry to forget. That experience will, like every other experience, will bring with it a teacher. And that teacher carries a lesson. And it's yours and my responsibility. It's our prerogative to embrace, welcome the teacher, find a lesson, learn that lesson, grow, come up higher, and go up one extra rung of the spiritual ladder. Let us close this intervention or this exchange with another bar of music. And I'm just wondering, What am I going to play to close this? Did you have anything in mind? Let's see. Okay. We will do our very best to keep this in bite-sized chunks. That way we don't get to lose you, and that way we don't get to talk about way too many things that you end up wanting to just assimilate it all and you end up with absolutely nothing. Like I said before, I don't really get to choose what it is I get to talk about. I just show up and I allow the spirit in me to flow and for the message to glow, hoping that no fuse blows. That is the beauty of this space. It is organic. And I know that every time I open my mouth to speak, I know I'm speaking to someone in particular. Like right now, I know I'm talking to you. Yes, you looking at me. We are kindred spirits. And at this particular point in time, I'm moved to talk about not the personal space, relational space. I'm moved to talk about the relational space. I know you need to hear this. And I'll start by saying that in life there are 3 spheres. There's the personal sphere, body, soul, and spirit, which need to be in alignment. And I won't go into depth. We'll deal with that some other day when I'm moved to talk about the personal sphere. Then there's the relational sphere, our relationships, how we run them, how we make them, how we nurture them, how we decide who comes, who goes, who stays. You know how they say, everyone comes into your life for a reason. For some, it's just a season. For others, it's a lifetime. It's important to know the difference and to make the distinction. Then, of course, the last part is our purpose space. You call it career, you call it profession. I just call it purpose. It's a difference without a distinction. Different ways of saying the exact same thing. One is just a whole lot more generic, and the other one is more specific. So today we're talking about the relational space, having talked about the 3 spheres. We've already talked about this, but we'll just highlight the 3 or the 4 kinds of relationships. So there's family, there's the relative, there's the friend, and there's the acquaintance. We begin with the end. So acquaintances and relatives fall under the same bucket. Meanwhile, friends and family fall under the same bucket. By the way, there's nothing I'll say here that is not scripture backed. Remember when Jesus said, "My mother, my brother, my sister, and my father are those who listen to the word and believe and obey." Obedience, of course, is better than sacrifice. Notice Jesus was not hung up on blood, sanguine relationships, not the slightest bit. He was all about a bigger connection, purpose, his word. So values, morals, ethos, principles, and scruples. That's what should be driving our relationships. Not whose blood and who's not. While blood is thicker than water, that is the thing that forces us to stay in there and to learn the lessons that we need to learn. But the ultimate purpose is for us to go to a place and a headspace where family becomes neighbor and neighbor becomes family. That's why the commandment does not say love your mother as yourself. It says honor your mother and your father. It doesn't say love your sibling or your best friend as yourself. It says love your neighbor, because that best friend today was once upon a time just a neighbor, just potential. Like you and I are potential. And with the potential that we are graced and endowed with the abilities and the capabilities to be just about anything we choose to be. Usually we will be wired in a certain way based on our environment, and this is where the whole concept of nature and nurture come in, kick in, take their place, get deployed. So, is there anything else my spirit is moving me to share? And the answer is no. So I guess that should be enough for now. If you have any questions, just go to my DM. Drop your question in there. Or just DM me. Go to the comment section. And if you'd like to get to actually work with us one-on-one, go to MindsetMagnum.com. So you see, we've got Mindset Boulevard, we've got MindsetMagnum. So I'm rebranding myself as a forensic mindset architect. I know it doesn't exist anyway, and I have to explain it for you to understand exactly what that means. But we're not explaining that today, otherwise we'll be here all day. But within that space, I refer to myself as the Mind Magnum within Mindset Boulevard. So that's the full picture, that's the full brand. I'm a vessel rendering service. The vessel rendering service is the Mind Magnum, Mindset Magnum. What he does, he architects mind. Where he does it, the platform, Mindset Boulevard. It's a community that we're building, so feel free to belong. Where do you go? There's the Mindset Boulevard Lounge. And I'll be creating a spiritual lounge as well, so we can separate things. For people who are already spiritual, if you're deeply spiritual, make sure you're part of that space, because you will kick yourself in the teeth if you don't. No, you're not doing it for me. I'm not looking for numbers. I'm not looking for likes. No, I'm not. I know you're surprised. I've gone through life and I've noticed that, and I'll end with this. The Lord does not choose the equipped. The Lord equips those that He chooses and intends to work with. And how God does it is a matter for God and something for God to worry about. It's none of my business. It's a God problem. You are my business. You whom I'm called to serve. I know you don't have to like me for me to serve you. And yet, I'll bend over backwards to make sure that I give you beyond my best all the time. Because what I give doesn't come from me. It comes rather through me. And you will know when I say this, that it is true. When I say that I love you, I truly do. I see you, I hear you, and I feel your pain. And I just want you to know that there is a way. You're not your pain. You're not the labels that have been put on you. You're not your burdens. You're not your doubts. You're not your despair. You're not your desperations. You're not your destitutions. You're not the despondency that you feel. You're not the desolation that you carry. You're not your confusion. You're not your care. You're not your concerns. You're not that complacency either. And sometimes that complacency is just a need to rest and to recharge and to reboot. You're not your frustrations. You're not the hesitations. They're just all signs and symptoms of deeper underlying thought processes that may be under duress. You're not your worries. You're not your weariness. And no, you're not the restlessness that sometimes brings about recklessness. You're above and beyond all of those. And when we peel back all those layers of protection that you have built around yourself, you call them boundaries. The boundaries are no good if they are hard boundaries, because you lock yourself in and you become a prisoner in your own world. And you cut yourself off of the very things you used to enjoy, the things that used to speak to you and bring out from within you the amazing vault of treasures that you carry. And today you shut all of that down and you become a recluse living all by yourself in isolation. Yes, you need isolation every once in a while to refill and to recharge. You don't live there as a way of life. You go there as a means to an end because you need to reconnect, recharge, get refilled so you can bounce out, bounce back and be of service, because I will need you to partner with you. This may not make sense right now, and you're asking yourself, what do you have to offer? The fact that you asked yourself that question means you're ready for this journey. So just join us. Join us, and I can promise you, you're not going to regret it. No, you won't. You won't regret it. That I can assure you. Because here, it's all about being genuine, it's all about being authentic, and that is the one thing that your soul yearns for right now, and it is the one thing that I know you're starved of. I'll say that again so it can really sink, and I know that this resonated with you. You see, that deep breath that you just took, that is the proof. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. See, I can't even remember. I just know it made such a point. I can't remember what it is that I just said. I would have repeated it. But I know how important it was, and I know that you heard it, and I can always go back to the recording and say it again. Oh, and listen to it again. But yes. We're talking about authenticity, genuineness. That is the one thing that you lack right now. One thing you yearn for. You've outlived your environment. They all look up to you, which means you can't look up to any of them. And nobody takes any of your own challenges seriously, because you are the answer to everybody's worries. They feel incapacitated to help you, so you talk about your own challenges. They'll brush it to the side and tell you about theirs and expect you to resolve theirs. And slowly they become entitled. At least that's what you think, but no, it's just the ecosystem, the way it was designed and built, and the echo chambers within it, the roles and responsibilities. And each person just takes on their own role. Those who feel entitled, who play the victim all the time, although they get everything they need and all the things that they want. Appreciation sometimes becomes a problem. You, on the other hand, you're at their beck and call, giving them everything that they ask for, every time, between and betwixt, even overachieving, because you think that if you were to do it, if you were to do it just slightly more, then eventually they'll get to a place where they'll understand that you're trying to teach by example. You're trying to show them what it is that you want. You're trying to show them what it is that you need. But nobody is hearing that message. And I want to assure you that I do hear that message. You can be sure that here the engagement will be reciprocal, and it will be reciprocated. So this is a round table. You don't show up here as someone who's broken. You show up here as someone who's got so much to offer, and you just need to package what it is you have to offer so you can go out and shine your light and bring healing to the world. All right, if I don't stop here, we will have another segment which will go even longer than I planned for it to go. So let's close this with another bar of music. Let's see, what do we want to play now? Okay. I haven't got a clue what I was doing. I guess I was just messing with you. But hey, it sounded like music, didn't it? Alright. I'll talk to you all tonight at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. UK time. If it's just one person, that is a lot. Because most of my messages will be for one person. Mindset Boulevard is about changing the world one conversation at a time, one platform at a time. So, I see you on the other side.